Hey guys, it's Adrian. Welcome back to my channel. So I was thinking, if you were here in my living room with me, I'd sit down with you and have a cup of tea or coffee and ask you how you were doing. So, how you doing? Are you having a good week? I'm having a pretty good week. I hope you're having a pretty good week. Let me know in the comments below how your week is going. Anyway, down to business. Today I'm here to bring you a spoiler-free review of The Sudden Appearance of Hope by Claire North. I read this book in the month of February. You can see that in my February wrap-up if you're interested, but I had a few things I wanted to say and it would be just a little too long to put in a wrap-up, so I thought I'd do a spoiler-free review. Let me just start off by saying that this book wasn't what I expected it to be. And I didn't really know what I expected, but it wasn't what I expected it to be. And the reason for that, I think, is because Claire North's synopsises for her books are generally very vague. I already talked about this in her newest book that's coming out in April, but let me read you the synopsis of the book. Inside the cover, it says, "It started when I was 16 years old, a father forgetting to drive me to school, a mother setting the table for 3 and not 4, a friend who looks at me and sees a stranger. No matter what I do, the words I say, the crimes I commit, you will never remember who I am. That makes my life tricky and also makes me dangerous." So it doesn't really tell you anything about the plot. It tells you a little bit about hope, but it doesn't really tell you what's going to be in the book. And on the one hand, I really enjoyed that about the book. On the other hand, had I known what the book was going to be about, I may not have read it. So on one hand, I'm kind of glad. On the other hand, not so much. Because the first 60 pages of this book, I did not enjoy at all because I didn't really know what I was getting and it wasn't what I expected. I'm glad I pushed through because I ended up actually enjoying this book, but it's just a little different than I expected. For those of you who actually like to know a little bit more about what books are about before you decide to read them, I'm gonna give you a different spoiler-free synopsis. If you don't enjoy that, if you really like just going into your books absolutely blind, I'll leave a timestamp here somewhere and you can just skip ahead. For me, I would have appreciated it just because then I would have been prepared for what I was getting myself into. So, like the synopsis says inside the book is about a girl named Hope, and Hope is forgotten. It started slowly when she was 16 years old and it progressed until no one actually remembered her at all. And because Hope is not remembered, like the synopsis says, she's become kind of dangerous, and so she gets herself into some crime and she becomes a thief. It started off because she needed to survive, and now it was just kind of to give her something to do. The book starts off with her wanting to steal a very expensive diamond necklace that no one has been able to steal. Now, she's got advantages to stealing these because she's forgotten. She'll take it and she'll walk away, and there won't even be any time for security to come and get her. While she's on this heist, she becomes friends, as much of a friend you can become with someone after they've met you 6 or 7 times for the first time. And this girl that she really becomes fond of dies. She commits suicide, and it has to do with a app on her phone called Perfection. And Perfection is basically this app that tells you how to live your life. What foods you should eat, what clothes you should buy, what beauty salons you should go to, what cars you should buy, what job you should take. And by doing so, you can gain all these points. Then she finds out that this girl dies because of Perfection. She was already somewhat depressed and it just didn't work out for her, so she ended up killing herself, and so she wants to take revenge on Perfection. That's the premise of the story, and it follows her quest in doing that. Now, a lot more happens with that, but it's one of those kind of cyber takedown kind of things. So that was just a little bit more of a synopsis for those of you who actually enjoy knowing a little bit more about the book. Like I said, had I known this, I may not have read it, but I am glad that I did. As far as the plot goes, I'm not really sure how I feel about it because this is a book that I wouldn't generally read. What I did enjoy about this plot was that it was very thought-provoking. It deals with the idea of sociological norms and values. What does that mean? How are we defined by our society, by our friends, by our family, by fashion, by music? What makes us who we are? Who do we strive to be? What is ethical? What is not ethical? And it really makes you think about things that could happen in the future. How far are we being influenced by what the media and what society tells us? And the thing that really kind of creeps me out about this book is the way that people are being influenced. I think that's already happening in society to some degree. And so this is really thought-provoking, and especially for Hope. Hope is going through what it means to be or not to be defined by sociological norms and values. Is her being forgotten a sort of freedom, or is it a sort of prison? Because she is on one hand forgotten by everybody and cannot form relationships. On the other hand, she also can't be defined by sociological norms and values. She can be whoever she wants to be. She can be defined by whomever and whatever she chooses. So is that a freedom? Is that a prison? And it really, really makes you think. I will say about this plot though, this book is almost 500 pages long. I think it could have been better if it were about 50 to 75 pages shorter, because I found myself skipping over 3 or 4 paragraphs at a time and not missing anything for the plot. I feel like there was a lot of unnecessary dialogue and monologue that just dragged on and on and on that could have been done in a paragraph or 2, and it was done in like 2 or 3 pages. So had this book been 50 to 75 pages shorter, I feel like the story would have flew by a little bit better and I would have enjoyed it. It would have been not fast paced, because this was definitely a slow burning book, but it would have just been more interesting and more concise and to the point. Moving on to the characters, I kind of have the same feeling about the characters. I loved some of the characters were just boring. So let's start off with Hope. Hope, I really enjoyed. I loved Hope. I thought she had a great arc. She grew, she learned things about herself, about how she fits in society or doesn't fit in society. She discovered things about how she was feeling as far as loneliness goes and why she does what she does. Especially towards the end of the book, she made some really great connections as far as who she was that I think were very important for her character arc. Had she not made them, she probably would have fell flat a little bit. But all in all, watching her grow and develop into this person that she's become at the end of the book was really interesting to watch. There were, however, a lot of unanswered questions about Hope. We didn't really learn anything about why she is the way that she is, what makes her tick, and if or if not she can be helped and become remembered. What is it that makes her the way that she is, and is it curable, basically? It leaves you with a lot of open-ended questions that I would have personally liked to have some answers on. I also really enjoyed Philippa's character. I think that she was a beautiful, pure-hearted individual. Unfortunately, she got mixed up in this whole mess, and she sees perfection for what it is. And I think that the fact that she befriended as much as she could Hope and trusted her as much as she could, really, she just was a really lovable character. I really enjoyed her. The rest of the characters, though, for me, they fell flat. I didn't enjoy them. They were one-dimensional. They didn't have that much of an arc. And they just felt like they were there to help move the story forward. I didn't relate to them as much as I would have liked to, and that really, again, kind of pulled the story down for me. Again, the same thing goes for the writing of the book. I didn't love it, but I definitely didn't hate it. I thought that she crafted a very interesting story, a very thought-provoking story, and I think that's very important. But like I said earlier, it was just too long. Had it been a lot shorter, I think the writing of the book would have flowed better, it would have been more interesting, it would have been more captivating, it would have been more interactive. And because it was so slow burning, it was okay. It was average. All in all though, I did enjoy this book. I am glad that I read it because it really made me think. And the one thing that I got out of this book, I think I mentioned this in my February wrap up, is that I really miss adult fiction. I really enjoyed the thought-provoking content. I really enjoyed that it was relatable to my own age, because I am not a young adult anymore. I love reading young adult books, but I also like reading books that are on my level. And so I think I'm gonna have to pick up some more adult fiction in the next few months because I really did enjoy it. Unfortunately, because the writing was not that great, the characters were average, and the plot was kind of long, I ended up giving this a 3 stars. I did enjoy this book. It wasn't bad by any means. It just wasn't my thing. I do, however, think that there are people who can really enjoy this kind of writing. I know that it has gotten a lot of great reviews. So if this is kind of your book, if this really is kind of your genre, then I would suggest go pick it up. It is a very interesting and thought-provoking read. Alright guys, that wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this spoiler-free review, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I'd love it if you subscribe and be part of my little bookish community I've got going on here. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.